So, welcome back to Hyaku Shiki 96, your favourite billionaire philanthropist. And today I kind of want to talk about the Virtual Boy for the Nintendo Switch 2. So I didn't want to make a video about this straight away, I actually wanted to wait a little while to use it to kind of see, is it actually worth it? All the novelty and the excitement and the buzz online for it. What does that mean for the actual average user of the Nintendo Switch and a subscriber to Nintendo Switch Online? Let's talk about it. So the first thing I do want to say is unboxing this really is quite an impressionant experience. And so I'm going to put some footage right here and let you take a listen to all its glory, including some ASMR for the packaging. Don't say I don't do anything nice for you guys. Sorry, just again, waiting for you to laugh. My impressions of actually unboxing the product itself are quite positive. I really like the minimalist cardboard red with the plastic windows that are being designed on the Nintendo Switch Online accessories. I feel like it makes them really good for displaying, which is quite good because obviously I feel like these products catering to both actually being high quality and good to use, but also being good to display. I feel like Nintendo has the collector in mind here, and so that's something that I definitely appreciate. That when I'm not actually using this, I can put it on the shelf and make it look quite nice. The only problem is I'm gonna have to find room for it somewhere, but of course we'll get to that. The first thing that I do want to say is actually it feels really premium. And I think this is something that Nintendo have done really well with all of the different controllers. When you use them, when you feel them in the hand, when you assemble them, you put the bits together for the Virtual Boy, it feels good, it feels legit, like it doesn't feel like cheap. And I suppose that's kind of warranted given the price. In the UK it's about £66, so it's not cheap when you think about what it is, which is a plastic housing. But ultimately, it definitely looks the part and feels the part. And I love the rigidity of the actual stand that comes with it. When you are sitting down with it on a table, it feels solid and it feels like it's going to support the weight quite well, considering you've got your Nintendo Switch and everything in there. The next thing I do want to say is, which I found interesting, you can take sort of like the red tint off of it, which is interesting because apparently later on you're going to get updates to change the colour, and in order to have those updates you need to take that off. So that's a cool feature that they've included to sort of future-proof it in that respect too. So yeah, I feel like, again, it really felt like such a premium experience for me unboxing this product, and I felt like whilst it wasn't cheap, I felt like Nintendo were at least giving me back just from opening it up. So that's the first impressions right there, at least for me anyway. So the next thing I want to talk about, as you can see, I was quite pleased with the Nintendo magazine that they put in there. Now, essentially it is just advertising for the Nintendo Switch 2, and I don't actually have a problem with that. I think it's kind of cool to kind of reminisce on the older days of magazines, even if it is basically full of adverts. I mean, they kind of always were if you think about it, but I don't think there's anything in there that you don't already know if you're watching this video. But I really appreciate them, and I hope to see more of them with stuff in the future, because it's just a nice thing to look back and think about. And I feel like there's a good amount of graphic design and sort of arrangement that's gone into that magazine. So it was a freebie, but I actually quite appreciate it. I hope that like more companies take notice of this and know that there is kind of like a somewhat niche market out there that's still interested in those kinds of, I guess, throwback items, you could say, with a modern twist to them. So that's cool. So now the thing you're probably actually wanting to hear about is, what is it actually like to use? So I'm not going to go on for ages about it because I feel like it is quite straightforward. It is what you see. I think it's actually a lot more comfortable than people give it credit for, but I also think as well that it works quite intuitively. So pretty much you open the top housing and you put the Nintendo Switch 2 in there after you've started up the app, and it basically just kind of works from there. So what it does is it only uses selective parts of the Nintendo Switch 2 screen, or Nintendo Switch if you're using that version, and so puts the same image on both of them so you see them through, and you can have that sort of like VR effect to it. And it definitely does work, and I feel like it's quite interesting because for me, like, I'm somebody who doesn't have like equal depth perception in both eyes, so when it comes to things like 3D glasses, they're never quite as effective on me, but I still noticed it, so it kind of proves that it's quite a good quality and variable effect, that it works for people even who don't have like perfect sight, perfect vision too. So that's cool. I actually really appreciate the monochrome red kind of aesthetic to it as well. I feel like it kind of has a kind of charm to it. I mean, I've seen these games being played and talked about for a long time online, so for me, it was cool to sort of actually be able to start using it. But I digress. I think the main point here is, when it comes to comfort, that's a big concern that people have for using it. And I feel like for extended play sessions, it could definitely not be the most comfortable. I think that's true of pretty much all VR, like all VR I've used. Extended sessions tend to be not that comfortable because of the extra weight when it's attached to your head anyway. This is not attached to your head, but obviously you have to lean forward. So I think what I recommend is generally using a kind of taller table, like an office desk, or quite a decently tall kind of like dinner table works really well. I think if you were using it on a coffee table, just on sort of kind of like a lower desk of any sort, you'd probably have a problem there. So I think it'd probably be, if you had like one of those standing desks where you can kind of move it up, that would be fantastic in terms of getting it to the right neck level, because I feel like a lot of the strain comes from if you are leaning your neck down like that. If you're not doing that, I feel like it's going to work quite well and comfortably. One of the things I was also quite impressed is it does seal the light out quite well. I'm not a fan of all the little rubbery things that people put on their faces with these VR headsets. And it's a kind of niche complaint. Most people are okay with them, but for me, they just don't feel that comfortable. They feel a little bit slimy sometimes. I don't know the right words to describe it, but I don't prefer the texture. I can tolerate it, but the fact that this is kind of more of a fabric material, actually made it a lot more comfortable to use for me, and I found that it didn't affect the actual fit on my face, and also blocking out the light, which is really good, especially for kind of games where there's not lots of colour or brightness. So for me, in terms of actual legibility of the games, it worked quite well. So yeah, in essence, when it comes to comfort, I think it's definitely got it, with a few caveats, and that being, don't play for long sessions and make sure it's at the right height for you naturally. I feel like if you don't have access to any of those kinds of things, you might have a problem with the actual headset and its use. So that's something to bear in mind if you are thinking about purchasing it. So now I've talked about the build quality and the comfort, I think the next thing I want to talk about is actually the games. So what's really cool is that you're going to get lots of releases over time, including some previously unreleased games. Now I'm sure if you're deep into the Virtual Boy community, those games are probably accessed via other methods. I'm not, so I can't particularly comment on it. I can just make a couple of assumptions like I just did then. But ultimately, what's there, I feel like it's a moderate enough selection. Nintendo has this thing where they like to kind of release the lowest possible amount of games and then add them in over time. And I mean, that's part of the sell of the subscription service. You feel like you're getting things over time and you're excited to start using them. I mean, it's why they only launched with like 3 GameCube games, even though they could have launched with a lot more because they want to add them in and stuff. I'm aware of that, but I feel like the amount of games on the Virtual Boy are probably enough for now. Obviously, the longer that you wait to get it, the more games you'll have access to. So I can only speak for the title quality that is right there at the moment, but I have to say I really enjoyed it. When it comes to motion sickness, wasn't an issue for me. Like I said, I've played VR before and I feel like that helps, but it's not even remotely the kind of same experience for me. Like, VR is something I had to build my tolerance up to for motion sickness, but with this it was pretty fine. I played like 3D Tetris, which a lot of people say makes them motion sick, and it was totally fine for me. I had absolutely no issues and could have gone for hours probably without any problem. Also, the Galactic Pinball was fun as well. It kind of reminded me of, you know, that pinball, the one with Windows XP, the 3D space pinball. It reminded me of that, but it was a lot of fun as well. And I feel like messing around with some of the other games, there's enough there for now, I think. Would I say there's any standaway titles? No, but I think the Virtual Boy, in my impression so far, isn't the kind of system that you sit down and you play for those longer sessions. It's a bit more of a pick up and play system with some sort of short to medium play session length games. It's kind of built around that. I think that's quite fun because essentially, I mean, when you think about this is mostly like people are buying it because of the novelty or the nostalgia for those very, very small group of people who've had it historically. But ultimately, as far as I'm concerned, I feel like the game selection is pretty good. There's not really much to argue with there. I wouldn't say it's an overly compelling deal, but I don't think it's a punishing deal either. Like if you'd bought the GameCube controller straight away and you only had access to 3 games, that kind of feels a little bit of a sting. With this, having access to the number, I think it's like about 6 to 8 games, I think's quite credible for now. The real question will be how slow Nintendo is to add them in. If they add them in somewhat consistently and they don't take too long, then I think it's pretty compelling in terms of the turnaround. And also just because of the amount of time that it's comfortable to use this system, I feel like that's adequate and I don't feel like you'd be too disappointed. So the next point I really want to talk about is actually about the longevity of the device, because I've seen discussions and concerns around that. Like obviously the Nintendo Switch 2 is built in with some pretty good sort of like anti-piracy systems into it. I mean, most modern consoles are. What people are saying is, you know, when the subscription service is no longer supported, this might cause an issue for the use of the device. I would say don't let that stop you from getting it. Mainly because I feel like that the system is going to be supported for long enough anyway that you can easily get your money's worth out of it. By the time it's legacy, I think people will have cracked it. I know people cracked the original Nintendo Switch, so if you're worried about that, I would just say think to the future, and if that's a concern for you, when the time comes, mod your console so that you can kind of like gain access to those to that service even afterwards. That's kind of what I would say appears to be the route there. So I think there is a countermeasure for the longevity concern, and we'll have to of course wait and see. If there's anyone in the comments who's more enlightened about that, maybe there already is one, and if there is please let me know. I'd be interested to hear about it. So yeah, I think that's like an overview of the different points of my experience. So I want to go into a little bit more depth onto my judgment now, because ultimately you're watching this because you want to know, is it worth it? From the perspective of me, somebody who's never played the original Virtual Boy and somebody who's kind of picked it up off the novelty and excitement because I wanted to experience it, and the prices it's going for were way too much for me to want to try, but this was a respectable price for me to want to try it. I'd actually say it's worth it. Now, I don't think it's for everybody because I think ultimately this is clearly a niche system, and I think if you like niche systems and experiences that you haven't played before in games, and you generally kind of have a wider genre taste in games, you will really enjoy this. If, for example, struggle to enjoy a different variety of games and perhaps some of those more pick up and play, lighter mechanic developed games, or you don't like sort of those older retro Nintendo games, this isn't the system for you. I doubt anyone watching that would think that, but it is still worth saying overall. It's a compelling, I think, opportunity for a lot of people to experience a very rare and niche system. So for those of you who kind of have that space to accommodate for those things, I think it's worth it. If you're just interested in the novelty factor alone, again, I think it's worth it. Especially if, for me, you have, like I said, the right kind of size desk and chair so that you can sit comfortably with it. It's definitely worth it because it works, and it works well. It does exactly what it says on the tin, and I don't think you can argue for more than that, really. So, like I said, there's a compelling price there. It is premium, it's not super affordable, but I don't think it's completely unfair. It's high quality, it's a great replica, it comes as a good display box, and at the moment the software works fine and I've had no issues whatsoever. And I really enjoyed the opportunity to play this. I think only really the other way that you could probably play this is by modding a 3DS and sort of putting an emulator for that. That's probably the closest thing you could get. But if you're somebody who values kind of trying to recreate those authentic experiences, and the idea of using the headset adds more value to that for you, then yeah, I think that's the compelling package there. In other words, I think it's good for what it is, and I think it's acceptable, but I know it's not for everybody. I think if you're that collector who loves those niche consoles, those kinds of novelty experiences associated with original hardware, and you're wanting the most affordable way to try out a Virtual Boy, this is it. And I think this is going to be the most affordable way ever, and probably the only most affordable way, because even if you wanted to buy a 3DS to do it, unless you've already got one, that costs more than this. So I say that, obviously Nintendo Switch 2, if you factor that into the cost, yeah, but I don't think anyone should buy Nintendo Switch 2 for this. I think, you know, that's a bit of a steep hill for that. But otherwise, I don't think I have too much more to say, but I want to hear what your experiences are. What are your favourite games? What are the games I should be focusing on, spending time on, and looking forward to? Ultimately, again, I think it's a great value proposition for what it is, despite being at the premium. The novelty of the experience is enough for people, and for me it struck a chord, and that's exciting because I know for a fact I would have never experienced this unless Nintendo had done this. So I'm really excited for that, and I hope Nintendo find a way to take what they've learnt here and maybe apply it to the DS or 3DS in the future, or even the Nintendo Wii. Those are probably a lot more complex, far-fetched dreams. But I would really like to see what Nintendo can pull off now that we've got such an elaborate kind of functioning accessory in comparison to the controllers. What's coming in the future, who knows? But yeah, so I think that about covers my thoughts for today, especially because I have to go pick up my Lamborghini from the car service. I just had it painted from bright orange to bright yellow, and I had some sort of like LED side lights installed under the doors, you know, the neon lights, whatever you call them. I don't know what it calls or what it's called or what it costs. I just pay it, you know, probably what it costs, like £1 million, who knows, whatever chump changes these days. I mean, you know, just typical life of people like me. But anyway, I'll catch you in the next one.